Good morning everyone. Today's topic is occipital bone. As you know, occipital bone occupies the posterior part of the skull. It is characterized by the presence of a large foramen, and that foramen is foramen magnum. So occipital bone is the bone occupying the posterior part of the skull, and it has got a large foramen. That foramen is the foramen magnum. Okay. Now occipital bone has got four parts. It has got a squamous part. This is the squamous part. Okay. So this is the squamous part. This is the basilar part, and on either side of the foramen magnum you have the condylar parts. Okay. So you have the squamous part, you have the basilar part, and on either side of foramen magnum you have the basilar part. Okay. Now we will see about each of these parts. First of all, about squamous part. As you can see, squamous part is this. It is an expanded plate above and behind the foramen magnum. This is the foramen magnum, and then above and behind foramen magnum we have the squamous parts. It has got two surfaces and three angles. We will see about that. Two surfaces are, it has got an external surface and it has got an internal surface. So first we will study about the external surface of the squamous part of occipital bone. So this is the external surface, and as you can see it is convex, and it has got the following features. It has got an external occipital protuberance. Here you can appreciate a protuberance, that is the external occipital protuberance. It is a median elevation at the point of maximum convexity. So this is the point of maximum convexity. This is the point of maximum convexity, and there you have a median elevation, and that is the external occipital protuberance. And the most prominent part of this protuberance is called as inion. I repeat, the most prominent part of external occipital protuberance is called inion. Now there is an external occipital crest, which is a bony crest running downwards from the external occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum. Here you can see a medial bony crest. That crest is running from the external occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum. That is the external occipital crest. Then you have nuchal lines. You have two superior nuchal lines and two inferior nuchal lines. So these are the superior nuchal lines. These lines are found on either side, curving laterally on either side from the external occipital protuberance. You can appreciate these lines curving laterally from the external occipital protuberance, and these lines are the superior nuchal lines. Now, if you trace the external occipital crest, you will find that this is its midline. This is the midpoint of the external occipital crest. From the midpoint, there are two lines curving laterally. Those are the inferior nuchal lines. So you have the external occipital protuberance. Most prominent point of the external occipital protuberance is the inion. Line running from the external occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum is the external occipital crest. Then two lines running laterally from the external occipital protuberance is the superior nuchal lines. This is the midpoint of the external occipital crest, and two lines running to either side from the midpoint of the external occipital crest is the inferior nuchal line. Now coming to the internal surface, as you can see the internal surface, it is concave, right? And it has got the following features. First of all, it has got the internal occipital protuberance, which is a bony elevation close to the center. So here you have the external occipital protuberance, and on the internal surface you have the internal occipital protuberance. Then again here also you can see a bony crest. You can see a bony crest which is running downwards from the internal occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum. This is the bony crest. That is the internal occipital crest. So here you had from external occipital protuberance running down to the foramen magnum, you have the external occipital crest. Inside, running from the internal occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum, you have the internal occipital crest. Now the internal occipital crest near the foramen magnum, you can see that it is dividing and it is splitting to form a triangular depression here. This triangular depression is called Vermian fossa. That is the Vermian fossa. Okay. Now, as you can see here, there is a crochet arrangement of 4 grooves. Crochet means something looking like a cross. So this is a cross. So there is a crochet arrangement of 4 grooves here, right? So what are these grooves? This is the, here you can see the sagittal sulcus or the sagittal groove. It runs upwards towards the superior angle. This is the superior angle, and running from the internal occipital protuberance to the superior angle you have the sagittal sulcus or sagittal groove, which is occupied by the superior sagittal sinus. Okay, then these are the lateral angles. So you have got 3 angles. There is a superior angle and 2 lateral angles. So running from the internal occipital protuberance to the lateral angles, you have the transverse sulcus or the transverse groove, which is occupied by the transverse sinus. Then you have a groove which is descending downwards towards the foramen magnum. This groove, it is occupied by occipital sinus. So you have got 3 angles. This is the superior angle, these are the lateral angles, and you have got a cruciate arrangement of grooves. Groove running from the internal occipital protuberance to the superior angle, that is the sagittal sulcus, and from the grooves running from the internal occipital protuberance towards the lateral angle, that's the transverse sulcus or transverse groove, and a groove descending towards the foramen magnum, which is occupied by the occipital sinus. So here you have superior sagittal sinus, you have the transverse sinus here, and here you have the occipital sinus. Now coming to the next part. So this is the squamous part. Now coming to the next part, which is the condylar part. So on either side of foramen magnum, this is the foramen magnum, on either side you have the condylar part. So as you can see, the medial part bears the condyles, these condyles, that is the occipital condyles. So you can appreciate that here also. These are the occipital condyles which are found on the condylar part, medial aspect of condylar part on either side of foramen magnum. Now lateral to the condylar parts, you can see a quadrilateral plate projecting lateral, right? It is broken here, but here you can appreciate the quadrilateral plate that is present lateral to this occipital condyle. That lateral part is the jugular process. So lateral to foramen magnum, you have got occipital condyles and jugular process which together contribute to the condylar parts. Okay. Next thing is the outer opening of the hypoglossal canal transmitting the hypoglossal nerves lies lateral to the anterior part of the occipital condyle. So this is the anterior part of occipital condyle. Lateral to the anterior aspect of occipital condyle, you can see a opening, that is the outer opening of hypoglossal canal. Okay. Now there is a depression behind the occipital condyle. That depression, this is a depression behind the occipital condyle, that is called condylar fossa, and sometimes there is a foramen on the floor, and that foramen is known as posterior condylar canal. So you have the occipital condyle, lateral to the anterior aspect of occipital condyle, you have the opening of hypoglossal canal, and there is a depression just behind the occipital condyle, that is called the condylar fossa, and in the floor of the condylar fossa you have got a foramen which is called the posterior condylar canal. Now the anterior margin of the jugular process, the quadrilateral plate lateral to the occipital condyle, that is the jugular process. Now on the anterior aspect of the jugular process, you can see a notch, a concave jugular notch, right? This is the concave jugular notch on the anterior margin of the jugular process, which is seen lateral to the occipital condyle. If you remember, in the petrous temporal bone there was a similar notch. So together, the jugular notch in the occipital bone and the petrous bone together, they will form the jugular foramen. So here you can appreciate it. This is the occipital condyle lateral to foramen magnum. Lateral to occipital condyle you have the jugular process. This is the anterior jugular notch, and together with the petrous bone, this is the petrous temporal bone. So together with the notch in the petrous temporal bone, it is forming the jugular foramen. Right. Here also, this is the anterior jugular notch. Together with the notch in the petrous temporal bone, it is forming the jugular foramen. Now the superior surface of the condylar part presents a jugular tubercle. So you can see that this is the jugular tubercle. It is the superior surface of the condylar part. This is the condylar part, and on the superior aspect of the condylar part you have the jugular tubercle. Then coming to the basilar part. Basilar part, if you recall, it is a wide part, a wide bar of bone which lies in front of the foramen magnum. This is the foramen magnum. This is the wide bar of bone in front of the foramen magnum. That is the basilar part. It articulates in front with the body of sphenoid. Again, this is the foramen magnum. This is the basilar part, and you can see it is articulating with the body of sphenoid bone, right, to form the basis sphenoid joint, which is a primary cartilaginous joint. Now the upper surface from the basis sphenoid, we can see that it is a backwards and downwards slope. From the dorsum sellae to the foramen magnum, you can see that there is a backward and downward slope, and that is part of clivus. It is called clivus. And the inferior surface of the basilar part, if you look at the inferior surface of basilar part, there is a tubercle. That is the pharyngeal tubercle, which is present in the median plane about 1 centimeter in front of foramen magnum. You have the pharyngeal tubercle. Now I told you about this joint, the joint that the basilar part of occipital bone, that is the basi-occiput, makes with the basis sphenoid. There is a basis sphenoid joint, which is a primary cartilaginous joint. Now that joint has got a medico-legal importance in that it helps in assessing the age of the individual. It is the primary cartilaginous joint with a plate of hyaline cartilage between the basilar part of occipital bone and the posterior part of body of sphenoid bone, and the cartilaginous part is completely replaced by bone by the 25th year of age. So by looking at the skull, by looking at the basis sphenoid joint, you can say whether the person was of age younger than 25 or older than 25. Okay, thank you.